Tuesday. It is Tuesday, July 1st. And honestly, it's been a very, very long time since I have done a live, on a Tuesday. And I apologize for him with all these blankets and stuff. It's a comfort thing, y'all. It's a comfort thing. I'm a counselor, so I always stay comfy. And gotta be comfortable. And I'm tired of putting my AC up and down. Like, I'm gonna leave it at one temperature. So when it's too cold, this is why we got a sweater. This is why we have blankets. Okay. I don't know if y'all see my books or whatever, but I always have books next to me. I have my charger next to me. What else we got going on here? So lunch hour, fam. I hope everybody's doing well. So I really wish. Why is it not available? Why is my chat not available? It's telling me my live chat's not available. Why is that? Well, that's not fun. Channel level settings. Well, that's weird. It's telling my YouTube chats are not available right now, which that's ridiculous. That's really ridiculous. Well, ain't nothing I can do about that right now. Okay, so we can only worry about the things that we have control over right now, right? So that's what we're going to do right now. So for those of you that don't know who I am, name is Kim Marie McLeod. Put that Marie in there because I want y'all to know who I am, and I want to make sure y'all have the right Kim McLeod. So that's why I got to put that Marie in there, because there's a lot of people with the name Kim McLeod in the world. Who would ever guess? But Kim Marie McLeod, I am a licensed professional counselor for the state of Virginia. I am owner and director, lead therapist, clinical supervisor, everything. Lead promoter, lead marketer, of Right the Vision advocacy, consulting, and counseling, and been full-time 100% with that since November of 2023. Wow, we're about to go up 2 years. 2 years. November will be 2 years since I've been 100% working completely for the Lord, for Right the Vision, working for myself. What a blessing. What a blessing, people. And I am also an independent travel agent. Host agency is IntelliTravel. My travel business is called Beautiful Time Travel. I'm here for a beautiful time. So this video by no means is necessarily for Right the Vision, or not necessarily for Beautiful Time Travel. Is a video generally about life, but I always got to share a little background about me, because I understand everyone that's listening to this don't necessarily know who I am, right? So at this moment, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and invite your people. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and comment people, even in the chat, and get people in. This is lunch hour, so I know a lot of you are taking your lunch right now. So I hope and pray that this video will find you. This video will find you instead of an email find you. I hope this video finds you well. Come on into the room, because we got some good things to talk about. And so what else I have to say with that? So we have that. So top 3 goal killers. So you did not listen to part 1. You need to go back and listen to part 1. You can finish listening to part 2. Since you're already here, go ahead and finish listening to part 2, but you will need to go back and listen to part 1 for sure. So, because I'll give you all the background for that. But the top three, we're going to focus on number 3 more so, because I wasn't able to finish, and I was supposed to have a 12 o'clock meeting canceled last minute. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and finish my thought. Let me go ahead and finish what the Lord gave me for this. So number 1 goal killer is talking too much about things that don't matter. Talking too much about things that don't matter. Number 2, no preparation, no work, and no effort towards the goal. And number three, this is the big one right now. Number three, lack of accountability. You need to put that in caps. So when I go back and update the description, I'm going to put this in the caps for part 2. This is the part that I really want us to listen to. Lack of accountability. And why I feel so strongly about this is because I struggled with this. So I can understand this firsthand. All right. To say that I'm 100% accountable, like have I reached, top tier level of accountability? No. But I can say that I have come a long, long way. When it comes to accountability, for sure. I've been on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to accountability. I've been the person that needed to be accountable, and I've been the person that people needed to be accountable to me. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum, people. Okay. So it's July 1st. If you have not noticed that, we are literally halfway through the year. And what are we going to do about that? Fam, what are we going to do about that? Like, what are we going to do about that? What are you going to do about this? That we're 6 months literally left of 2025. What are we going to do about this? Okay. Like I said in the other video, it's going to take some preparation. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. And it's going to take some accountability. So as I was finishing up on part 1, because one of the reasons why I wanted to get on, because the thought about Samuel and Saul came to mind this morning about accountability. And this is an example for Christian believers. Now, for those of you that are not Christian believers, you can still get something out of this on this when I mention things about Christianity and spiritual well-being, because it can be applied to many parts of our life, right? So the story with Samuel and Saul in the book of Samuel, you have to go back to the first book of Samuel, right? So I'm going to share some scriptures about this. So we will all be on the same page with this, okay? So just giving you a backstory. So the children of Israel, they prayed and they pleaded and they debated and they murmured, and they wanted a king so bad, okay? And God was telling them, like, I am your king. You don't need a male figure saying that they're a king for you. I am your king. I'm going to take care of you, okay? But the children of Israel, it was out of their own fleshly desires. It was out of their own lust. It was out of their own covetousness that they looked at other nations. They forgot that God has taken care of them for many years, for many decades. They completely forgot about that, or they knew about that, but it didn't matter to them. So going back to the number 1 goal, right? Talking too much about things that don't matter. So here we are, the children of Israel. God has delivered them like tons of times, right? Has done the miraculous for these people, to show these people that they can trust him, to show these people that they are safe in God's hands. And yet they still wanted something that the world had that did not relate to them and that did not matter to them. They were still looking at the world. They was looking at things outside of God, okay? Outside of their core belief system. They was looking at these nations. They was looking at, oh, wow, they have a king to fight for them and to lead them into battle and, blah, blah, blah. And God was telling them, like, when you have a king, it's not always great for the people in the kingdom, because, what's going to end up happening, you're going to have to send your sons off to war. You're going to be taxed crazy. And God was trying to tell them all these things about, why it's not a good idea to pray and ask for a king. But the people did not care. Go back. Y'all need to go back and read the book of Samuel. The people they did not care. They still wanted a king. So what did God do? He gave them the desires of their flesh. Okay, so that's a whole nother Bible study when it talks about the desires of the heart and flesh and all that type of stuff. But he granted them what they was asking for. And God knew what was going to happen when he's going to give them a king. So he gives them a king, and that first king of Israel was the King Saul. King Saul. Saul, King Saul. And when God chose Saul, Saul was in a great place. Okay, he had a heart for God. He had a mind for God. He had a mind to work. Because if I'm not mistaken, Saul was working when God called him and chose him. I got to go back and read it for myself, like that background story for Saul. But if I'm not mistaken, like Saul was also working. That's what I was talking about in part one, right? Preparation, goal killers. If you want your goals to die, if you want your goals to destroy, have no preparation, don't work, and have no effort towards the goal, right? An easy way to see your goal not to be fulfilled. Okay, so Saul's working, Saul's taking care of business, whatever. He's being a great son, being a great, child of God. God chooses him, and he uses Samuel to anoint him, and he becomes king. And in Saul's kingship, Saul begins to change. His heart towards God, his heart towards the people of God, heart towards himself, like his thoughts about himself, his perspective about himself begins to change. You see throughout Saul's kingship, he becomes prideful. He becomes very haughty. He believes that he's high. He becomes higher than everyone and anyone. Yes, he's king, but that doesn't make you God, right? And so Saul begins to start doing things out of what God wanted him to do. He started doing things outside of what Samuel wanted him to do. And God continued to have mercy and to forgive Saul. And Saul just continued, and there's so much more about Saul, but this is the part that I want us to look into more about, that part of lack of accountability. Because in part one of this series, I shared with you all how, you'll never get to a point that you're so intelligent that you don't need accountability. Doesn't matter what your position is in this world. I don't care that you a millionaire. I don't care if you a billionaire. I don't care what organizations that you own. I don't care what your status is in the USA or any other country. I don't care if you're part of the powers that be that pulls the strings of what goes on in the world. I don't care who you are. None of us. I don't care, like, you're the CEO of your company, a CEO of another company. Like I said, I'm a director and owner of my business, right? Of 3 businesses. So the thing about this is, I would never reach a place in my life that I will not need accountability. And this is nothing new under the sun. What we see going on in this world, this is nothing new. God tells us there's nothing new under the sun. This has happened throughout time. All right. Time and time again, we're going to see the same thing, because that's who we are. We're human. We repeat the same dumb cycles. Okay. That's what we do. All right. So anyways, let's get into it. So First Samuel. So I'm reading from the Holy Bible. So I'm taking like the context of spiritual health and the view, the Christian view on a lack of accountability. So we know we have, like, the world view, we have the counseling view, we have the travel view. There's many different views and perspectives, but I want to build a foundation when it comes to like accountability on the foundation of based upon the Bible, okay, based upon Christian principles, okay. So First Samuel, we want to go with me in First Samuel, all right, that is in the Old Testament, First Samuel chapter 15. Okay, so we're going to be reading this insert when Saul is rejected as king by God and by Samuel, okay. First Samuel chapter 15, starting with verse 19. So we have a few verses here. So starting with verse 10, we're going to start with verse 10. So let's read together as a fam here. So starting with verse 10. So we're in 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 10. It says, "Now the word of the Lord came to Samuel, saying, I greatly regret that I have set up Saul as king." God is regretting this decision. Okay, remind you, God already knew what was going to happen. He was trying to tell the people of Israel, but they wouldn't listen. That's why, once again, you got to be a reminder of the number one. All of these are important, right? But the first one that I mentioned was talking about things that don't matter, and that was what got these children of Israel in trouble. And why now they have a king, and now this king has disobeyed God. So now God says, "I greatly regret that I have set up Saul as king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments." Now, like I said, just a reminder, when Saul first became king, before he became king, he was right standing with the Lord. Okay, the Lord specifically picked him because he looked at his heart. He knew that he was doing well, and he saw that he would be a great king. Now, like I said, Saul was just so full of himself that he stopped performing the Lord's commandments. And then it goes on to say, and it grieved Samuel. Now, Samuel was the prophet at the time. He was like one of the head or lead prophets at this time. Very well-known prophets. Not to say there was other prophets, because there were, but God was greatly using Samuel in the area of helping him pick and choose and anoint kings during this time. So it says, and it grieved Samuel, and he cried out to the Lord all night. Verse 12. So when Samuel rose early in the morning, I love that, early in the morning, something about getting up early in the morning. So Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, and it was told Samuel, saying, Saul went to Carmel, I think that is, and indeed he set up a monument for himself. Y'all, woo! This is why we gotta hold ourselves accountable. So it tells us, so when Samuel rose up early in the morning to meet Saul, it was told Samuel Samuel saying, Saul went to Carmel, and indeed he set up a monument for himself. And he has gone on around, passed by, and gone down to Gilgal. Verse 13. Then Samuel went to Saul and Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord. Saul literally lied in the one of God's favorite prophets in this time. Okay, he literally confidently lied to Prophet Samuel right in his face, like boldly, confidently lied. And if you listen to some of my lives that I said that's one of my biggest pet peeves is for someone to lie straight in my face. And these are my favorites. When people lie to you and you know good and well they lied, and they know good and well they lied, and they know that you know that they're lying, and they still lie. Oh my goodness. Woo! Woo! This is crazy. Like the man builds a monument for himself, knowing good and well God doesn't like idols. And then he did something else as well that we're going to find out what he did. He also did something else that was to completely distasteful to God, and that what made God regret making him king. So then Samuel went to Saul, and Saul said to him, "Blessed are you of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord." Verse 14 says, "But Samuel said, what then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear?" Okay. Go on to verse 15. And Saul said, "They have brought from them the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed." Okay. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the story, you know exactly what I'm talking about and what's going on here. Now, for those of you that's not familiar, we're not done yet. We're reading these scriptures, but for those of you that's not familiar with this passage of scripture, either that's because you are a new Christian, like you're new to this walk of faith, or Samuel just have not been a book that you're familiar with, or let's just say that you're just not a believer of Christ, or you're not a Bible reader. Okay, so just to give you a background here, there's a really quick background on here. All right, so we'll read more of the scripture, but just to give you a background, God specifically told Saul, when he reached this place, he wanted all the Amalekites to be destroyed, and he wanted everything related to them to be destroyed. God told them not to leave anything alive. They were supposed to destroy everything. Okay. What Saul did was he did not 100% follow God. He decided to have selective choice of obedience, or he had delayed disobedience, or he had it was very selective, because when he got there, he destroyed what he wanted to destroy. He didn't destroy everything. So there were some things that Saul really liked, so he took it upon himself without inquiring to the Lord, or just listening to what God said. Because you don't really need to acquire if the Lord already told you. If the Lord already gave you the instruction and direction, your behind just need to do it. Okay? All this back and forth that we do as believers sometimes is craziness. God literally will give us all the direction, all the instruction that we need, all the wisdom that we need. He'll give us all the resources that we need. He tells us X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, 3. And then when you get to that point to actually, fulfill that promise and, reach that goal, we want to be questioning or doubting God and do things our way, because it may not look like the way that God said it. That's what gets us in trouble. That's how you could destroy your goals. That's how your goals could be destroyed. From being disobedient to God. That lack of accountability. And that's what it is. It's lack of accountability. And so that's kind of like the background story here. So Saul did this, and Saul knew what he did. This is no secret. Saul knew what he did, but he chose to do it because he was king, and he was like, well, I have this right. I have this position, so I can do this. And he felt that because of this relationship that he had with Samuel and his influence that he had with Samuel, he just thought that this was going to be okay. So go on. I'm going to read that verse again. So I just want to give y'all a background for those that was not familiar with the story. So, and Saul said, they have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. Then going down to verse 16, it says, then Samuel said to Saul, Samuel is the prophet here. He's the man of God, okay? And Saul is the king. Then Samuel said to Saul, be quiet. I'm reading for the New King James Version, okay, the NKJV, all right? Then Samuel said to Saul, be quiet. He pretty much said, shut up. Like, shut your mouth. Like, shut up. Like, if I even look at some other translations here real quick. Let's see here. Stop. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much, he's like, shut up. Then Samuel said to Saul, be quiet, aka shut up. And I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Woo! Listen. For myself and for all of you, if you're supposed to be accountable to what God tells you and accountable to your people, to the people that, God has given to you, whatever, and God's trying, God already revealed himself. God already revealed himself to both of these men. He revealed himself to the prophet. He revealed himself to Saul. And Saul was like, pretty much like, y'all, you get on my nerves right now because God spoke to me already last night about what has happened. So be quiet, shut up. I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night. And he said to him, speak on. So Samuel said, this is verse 17. So Samuel said, when you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? And did not the Lord anoint you king over Israel? So Samuel's reminding Saul of his position, okay, and of his stance in Israel and his stance in a view of the Lord. And then verse 18 says, now the Lord sent you on a mission. Whew, Jesus. Now the Lord sent you on a mission and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Okay? That's what God told them. That was the mission. That was the mission that was given. Verse 19, why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Read that again, y'all. This hits me. This hits me. I hope this hits you all too. Because like I said in all my videos, first and foremost, it's for me. First and foremost, it's for me. And if it goes for you too, embrace it and act on it. Why did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do evil in the sight of the Lord? And I think for the most, to be honest with you, I think for the most part, I don't think most of us I don't think we're what's the word I'm trying to use? I don't think we purposely wake up wanting to do evil in the sight of the Lord. Like I said, I think this goes back to just not continually holding yourself accountable and getting to the point that you're so full of yourself that you know everything and that no one can tell you anything because you know everything about everything. And this is what got Saul and King Saul in trouble. And verse 20, it says, and Saul said to Samuel, but I have obeyed. And Saul said to Samuel, but I have obeyed the voice of the Lord and gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me and brought back Agag, king of Amalek. Amalek. I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best. This is Saul. Yeah, so this is Saul talking to Samuel. But the people took of the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best of the things which should have been utterly destroyed to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal. I need to read that again. Verse 20, it says, and Saul said to Samuel, so the king Saul said to prophet Samuel, but I obeyed the voice of the Lord. So now he's going back and saying that he obeyed, knowing still he knew he did not obey the Lord. Once again, this is a second lie. And one sitting with Samuel. But I have obeyed the voice of the Lord and gone on the mission which the Lord sent me and brought back Agag, king of Amalek. I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. Verse 31, but the people took of the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best of the things which should have been utterly destroyed. He admits that. He admits that he should have utterly destroyed it to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal. And it's the second time he mentions God as of Samuel's God, but he doesn't mention God as his God. That's it. It sounds like Saul has put himself up as an idol of himself. Then verse 22, it says, so Samuel said, has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord? So Samuel said, has the Lord has as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. So that's where we get that phrase from. So from some of you that has heard that throughout the years, that's not familiar with the story, that's where we get that from. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. And didn't I just say that? When you're reading this chapter, it sounds like Saul has put himself up as his own God, and that he's kind of looking at himself as like an equal in a way to God, which is like detestable, practical abomination. Sin itself, it's not following the commandments of God. And so in that verse 23, it says rebellion is as a sin, is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because at this point, as we can see, King Saul has become very rebellious. He's become stubborn. And as we know, stories later, he convenes with, witches, eventually. But we know that he's become stubborn. And it tells us is as iniquity and idolatry. And mind you, King Saul had just built a monument for himself. And then Prophet Samuel goes on to say, because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected you from being king. And then in verse 24 says, then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. So, like I said earlier, when we were first reading in this passage, King Saul had lied in the face of Prophet Samuel 2 times in one sitting. And now, after Prophet Samuel shared and confirmed the word of the Lord, now Saul is attempting to repent, but he did not fully repent, because as we're reading these words, we're seeing that Saul is blaming the actions that he's done on other people. So he's doing exactly what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden, when they sinned, when they didn't hold each other accountable, Adam blamed God for, he blamed the woman by saying, God, it's this woman that you gave me. And then Eve blamed the serpent. Okay. No one wanted to take accountability. And we find that in 1 Samuel 15 as well. When King Saul openly sinned, he knew what he was doing was not right. He knew it was displeasing to God. But he felt that because he was king, he was giving himself right. He was giving himself right to go above the voice of the Lord, to go above the instruction of the Lord, and go above the prophet, and thought that because of the relationship that he had with the prophet, that he would be somehow given some leeway, or some privilege from the situation. Okay. And as we see this, Saul, he starts off, sounding as if he's apologetic, right? It sounds like he's starting off sincere. I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in your words. But then he says, because I have feared the people and obeyed their voice. So instead of him just owning all of it, taking full, complete control of everything that he's done, how are you so concerned, King Saul? How are you so concerned about the people that you were king? Your word trumps what the people are saying. Your word doesn't trump, of course, God. Your word doesn't trump, the prophet, because the prophet is a voice piece from the Lord. But you are in charge. You are the man of the hour. You are in charge of this mission. And now the king here is sitting here saying he did this because he said, I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Then it goes on to verse 25. Now, therefore, please pardon my sin and return with me that I may worship the Lord. Verse 26 says, but Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned around to go away, King Saul, seized the edge of his robe and it tore. So as Samuel turned around to go away, King Saul seized the edge of his robe and it tore. So, and this is verse 28. So Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to a neighbor of yours who is better than you. Woo! Woo! God, let me tell you something. God don't play. God don't play. God don't play. And then it goes on to verse 29. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor relent, for he is not a man that he should relent. Ooh, baby. Verse 30. Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now, please, before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me, that I may worship the Lord your God. So that was King Saul speaking again. So Saul, next verse 31. So Samuel turned back after King Saul, and Saul worshiped. So Samuel turned back after Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. Then Samuel said, bring Agag, king of the Amalekites, here to me. So Agag came to him cautiously. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. And I'll stop there. So that's what no, hold on. Oh, I have to read on. I will read this other part. So 33, but Samuel said, as your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. And Samuel hacked Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. And then 34, then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house at Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel went no more to see Saul until the day of his, and Samuel went no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. Very sad and depressing story. And at the same time, very enlightening and very sobering, and very fitting for this season that we are in, and this whole concept of goal killers, right? Goal killer, being disobedient to God, flat out, lack of accountability, it's in that umbrella. Saul had no regards to accountability in this moment in chapter 15. He had no regards anymore. And I've seen this happen so many times. Like I said, I've experienced this in my life. I've experienced not holding myself accountable in certain areas of my life. And, to be completely honest with you all, like I could have saved myself. I could have saved myself heartbreak if I would have held myself accountable. If I would have held myself accountable to the Lord with myself and also with other people, would have saved myself some heartbreak. Finances. If I would have made some better decisions, help myself accountable some areas in finances, I would definitely be in a whole different place financially. I could technically be either debt free or very close to being debt free. But I'm not because there were some unwise decisions that I have made throughout the years, and did not fully hold myself accountable. And I did not allow to be accountable in that area of finances. And also too, just making sure here I have enough time here, because I have a meeting at 2. So with this being said here, fam, that lack of your goal is dependent on accountability. Your goals in life in general is going to be dependent on goals. Your calling as a woman, as a man of God, is dependent on your level of accountability. And you will only go as far as your level of accountability. King Saul, he was in pretty much like the he was pretty much in a climax of his kingship, and he could have gone on to be the first and last king of Israel. He could have been the 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 bloodline that Jesus would have chose to use, but King Saul messed that up. And the thing about it is, like, we are the ones most of the time. Like, I'm not here to say that I know it all, because I do not. Obviously, I just completed 22 counseling, continuing education credits, to renew my license, right? I have books literally on the left side of me. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, literally nine books on the left side of me that I use as resources for my counseling business. And In front of me, I have 3 containers of books that we're not even getting into right now. On the right side of me, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books on this side of me to help support where I'm at right now. I have another book right here that our team group is meeting right now, which is Relentless. We're reading that at the moment. To show you a picture of that, my travel team, we're reading this at the moment. And it's interesting because in one of the verses, it talks about how God was not going to relent in this situation, which I thought was really interesting. So all to say that I don't want, when I make these videos, like I said, first and foremost, they are for me. They're for me. If I'm going to teach and educate other people, I have to hold myself accountable to the word that I am sharing for myself. I have to make sure I'm holding myself accountable and I'm doing it. I'm practicing it. When I'm in counseling and in the counseling mode or whatever, one of my big things I talk about is rest. Talk about having a day off or whatever. Like, you hear me say this all the time. Fridays are generally my day off. Generally, that's my day off. Like, I don't do any major working on Fridays, okay? But I have to practice that. I can't tell someone, oh, you need rest, you need a day off, but here I am working 7, 8, 14 days straight and not taking a day off. Like, I'm out of order. How can I tell people, you may need to pray, you need to pray more, whatever, and I'm not taking no time to pray? How can I sit here and tell people, you need to read a chapter a day, and I'm not doing no type of reading on a consistent basis? I'm out of order if I'm doing that, right? So I just want to be clear and just give that disclaimer. And I feel like most of the people that know me, for most of you that already follow me on Facebook, you already know. Most of you already know about me, so you already know. What I say is what I say. What you see is literally what you're going to get. What you see on the screen is what you're going to get when you see me in person. But for those of you that don't know me, I just feel that I need to share that disclaimer with you all. But generally, what I have seen in my own personal life, also what I've seen with friends and family, in the work world, career field, counseling, travel, is that people are generally in their own way. Generally, our goals are not reached. It's because of us, because we have done something, all right, that was out of order, and that we did not keep ourselves accountable for. And as believers, as Christian believers, first and foremost, like I said, we want to make sure we're doing our very best and being accountable to the Lord, making sure we're accountable to ourselves. Okay? God is going to tell us everything that we're going to need to know to make sure we get the mission accomplished, to make sure we get these goals accomplished. But if you want to do it your way, be prepared for the consequences. Be prepared for the natural consequences. Okay? Because natural consequences does not always have to be negative. But when you choose to do things your own way, you don't want to have no type of accountability for nothing. You don't want to own none of the things that you have done right or the things that you have done wrong. Be prepared for the natural consequences. Be prepared for that. This year, we are in July 1st. We are in July 1st of 2025. I've heard people complain about the same thing they have complained about since 2020. Fam, that's 5 years. 5 years. If you are still complaining about why you're not where you need to be in life for the past 5 years, the problem is you. The problem is you. The problem is you. Because at the end of the day, you have control of yourself. You have control of your own decisions. Okay. If you are complaining about January 2025 and complaining right now, you got to make a decision. Am I going to keep complaining and murmuring and doing things my way and living on an island, living isolated, and don't want to be honest with my behaviors and my lack of accountability, my lack of work, my lack of effort, my lack of preparation? If you have to make a decision, am I going to continue? Am I going to continue in this season? Or am I going to make a change today, July 1st? I believe, and I'm not the only one, I believe July 1st is such a prophetic, it's just such a prophetic day. It's a day like no other this year. It really is. January 1st, yes. January 1st was a very significant day. It was. But I feel like in my spirit, I do believe that July 1st, 2025 is more significant than January 1st, 2025. For whatever reason, I can't fully explain that right now. But I believe God is wanting to do a new thing. He wants to do a new thing with some of you all. He wants to do a new thing with me. 100% he wants to do a new thing with me. Now I can get myself out the way. I can stop doubting. I can stop with like this re-questioning the Lord. Like God has already spoken. Fam, God has spoken. It's done. God spoke. He spoke. He gave his instruction. He gave his direction. He gave us the resources. He's already spoken. Now God's like, look, this is what I've given to you. This is the mission. You know what to do with this. You have everything you need to make sure you complete this mission and you complete these goals. Now I'm going to go ahead and take care of more business, and I'll go ahead and continue to make sure the opportunities of the doors are open for you. But in the meantime, you need to be preparing. You need to be preparing. And that's what I was reading too in the book in our travel team, like early morning kind of huddle discussion. But I just see that so much. I'm seeing that just so much right now with so many people that like you have to decide on how you're going to take control over your life. No one has control over your life. And I'm talking to adults, okay? Because if you're a minor, you're in the household of your parents and your guardianship, and you will need to obey what they have going on, okay? All right. So with that being said, I'm talking to adults here. You have to take control over your life. If you don't like your life, if you don't like what's going on, you have to change it. And you can change it today. Because I have been there. I'm a living witness and living testimony. I have lived in seasons that I can literally say that I hate it. I've lived in seasons, fam. I've lived in seasons that I was overshadowed with depression, overshadowed with anxiety. Okay, drowning, like literally drowning in financial responsibilities, literally drowning. Felt like I couldn't keep my head above water. Okay, been there. I've worked jobs. I have worked jobs that I hated, work jobs that was toxic, dealt with workplace bullying. Fam, I know some people, you see this, you see me on the screen here, you see me sitting back and it looks like I'm relaxed, and I try to be relaxed because I got to keep my health. I can't depend on nobody to take care of me. I got to take care of me. So yes, I'm going to look relaxed and I'm going to be relaxed. I'm going to be calm. Okay. I have one heart. I have one brain. I get one body, and that's my responsibility to take care of. Okay. But for so many of you that don't know my story, you don't see all the preparation to get to where I'm at today. And I'm telling you, if this is helping one person aside from me, because this is helping me, but if this helps and encourage just one person out here, I believe that I've done my part today in being obedient, because the hour of 11 and the hour of 12 and this hour of 1 o'clock, I could have easily took a nap. I could have easily taken a couple hour nap, for sure. Easily taken a nap. I could have easily went back to sleep. But there's just something in my spirit that's just not allowing me to sleep at this moment. Tonight, I'm gonna get some really good sleep tonight. But there's something in my spirit that's have me awoken, like has me woke right now. That, fam, this is the time. July 1st, 2025. The days are gone. Listen, you are an adult. You have to start being adult, right? Think what Paul said, when I was a child, I thought as a child, right? Like, you are a grown adult. You are a full grown woman. You are a full grown man. Take some control. Take some accountability. Take some responsibility for your life. This is a life that God has given to you. Right here, this brain of ours, so powerful. Do something with it. Stop wasting the things that God has given to you. Stop wasting your brain power. Stop wasting your gifts and your talents. Stop wasting it. Stop wasting the anointing that God has given to you. Stop wasting it. Stop wasting it. And going back to 1 Samuel 15, and why I feel this so strongly in my spirit, like I said, it was nothing but God's will for that 12 o'clock meeting to cancel, because I want to touch on a little bit about King Saul. And I just couldn't do it. And I was like, I'll just do another video. And then when I checked it, go in, the 12 o'clock had canceled. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do this out of obedience and what I feel in my spirit. What's happening now? This was not King Saul's first rodeo. I would have to go back and study more on the background on Saul, because it's been a long time since I read up on and studied King Saul. But this was not King Saul's first rodeo of him disobeying God or doing things that he shouldn't be doing, And the thing about it is, we all have a limit, and we don't know what that limit is. We don't know when that limit is, right? So we need to make sure that we're doing everything in our own power, everything in our power, anything in our control that God has already given to us to complete that mission, to complete those goals that God has given to us. I'm telling you, fam, stop talking to people that do not believe in the goals that God has given to you. Stop dealing with people that every time they talk to you, they have a way of talking you out of what God has given to you. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. God has already spoken. He's already spoken. You know what God has said to you. Jesus said, my sheep knows my voice. My sheep knows my voice. Stop talking to people that don't even know God's voice for themselves. Stop talking to people that don't even know the voice of God for themselves. How are you going to get spiritual advisement from somebody or life skills from someone, and they don't even know the voice of God for themselves? Stop being around people. Stop entertaining conversations that all y'all do is just murmur and complain. Murmur and complain. Murmur and complain. Murmur and complain. Get into some conversations that's going to build you up. That's going to build your personal development up. Get into some conversations going to build up your business, or going to build up your career, or build up your education, or build up your ministry, or build up your gifts and talents. Okay? Yes, some days you're going to have some hard and challenging days. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that does not give you the right to not have accountability. Okay? We still work. We still put effort in. Okay? This is the season to get up out of your slumber. Get up. Get up. Stop being lazy. Stop procrastinating. Get up and do something with your life. Because if you don't, you're going to be here again January 1st, 2026. You're going to be here again July 1st, 2026 in the same place, in the same situation. As an old friend tells, used to say all the time, you better get God and you better get your education. Get God, get education. Some of y'all, let's get it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. So many of us already know what you need to do. So many of us already know what we need to do, and we're not doing it. Don't understand that. You have all the resources you need, and you're choosing not to do it. I'm telling you, fam, and I said this statement last week. December gonna come. December 2025 gonna come. And I'm not gonna even recognize myself. You all not gonna even recognize who I am. December 2025. I'm not gonna be the same person I am today that I'm gonna be in December 2025. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better. Listen, 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 listen. So the word of the Lord has already been spoken. You all have what you need. Let's review the top 3 goal killers. And before I let y'all go, I'm always about practicality. I always want to give you something that you could practically do. Some simple steps. And we'll probably continue to be on this, probably become a series that I do. But for starters, so number 1 goal killer at this moment, they're not necessarily, I just had to put a number to it, but I'm not saying one is higher than the other. It's just, I had to put a number towards it, okay? So 1, we have talking too much about things that don't matter. How can you help that? What are some practical things you could do? Well, shut up. Shut up. Have some time of silence. Sometimes some of us don't know. Well, not me. I used to have a problem with it. Like I said, I used to have a problem with it. But sometimes you just need to be silent. Sometimes you need to sit in silence. You know, a lot of people are very scared just to sit in silence for like 10, 15 minutes. Take some time to shut things off. Turn off your phone. Turn off your laptop. Turn off the TV. Have some time in just silence. Do it. Try it. Practice it. When you find yourself in a conversation that you notice that is unproductive, and you start feeling like this is an unwise conversation, or you're noticing there's murmuring and complaining, politely remove yourself from the conversation. Politely remove yourself and respectfully remove yourself from the conversation. You don't even have to change the subject. You can remove yourself from the conversation. So those are 2 practical things that you can do at this current moment. There's more, but we can share those later. Number 2, goal killer. No preparation, no work, no effort. Let's start using this season to prepare. So we need to start writing down, and that's something I need to do too. I need to actually write down some follow-up goals for the year. I got to follow up with myself. So that's one thing I need to do and be accountable to, that I need to follow up with some goals for myself from now until December. And I need to do that. We need to do that. And anybody wants to do that with me, you want to come together and we can do that in a safe, trusted environment. We could do a Zoom call. We could get together. We could talk about, what are some possible goals that we want to do for ourselves. I think that would be really great and encouraging. Because y'all know I don't play no games. I don't play no foolishness. So if people start, not, trying to turn the meeting into something else, they will be removed. Okay. But if you're interested in some help with goal setting and accountability, I can definitely help you in that area. We can definitely, I'll definitely make some time for that. I'm very busy, but I can definitely make some time for that. And so we gotta prepare. So that's part of writing it down. Write the vision, make it plain. Okay. we got to put effort into that work. So once we prepare, we got to start working towards it. So there's going to be goals that you need to do to work towards it, right? That's just depending on what you have on your list for your goals, but you actually need to write out your goals. And then you need to make some effort into the work. You don't give up because once it gets hard or gets discouraging. You keep working, put in the effort towards those goals. And number 3 goal killer is the lack of accountability. If you don't already have a trusted, safe community of people that you can lean on, that you could depend on, that you could call or text at times, and share with them your goals. You need that. Of course, you don't need to be sharing your goals with everybody. You don't need to be sharing your goals all over social media. Like, I would not recommend that, to be sharing your goal all over Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. I don't know all this other stuff y'all got out here, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. You don't need to broadcast all your goals, but you need to have a small, very close knit community of people, spiritually, business wise, career wise, education wise, that you can discuss some things about your goals, and that you all can hold each other accountable. And that, when you make a mistake or you don't do what you're supposed to do, that does not mean that this accountability partner knocks you down, doesn't mean they, discourage you, doesn't mean they disrespect you or anything like that. But there needs to be some healthy, assertive communication, sharing, okay, let's look at what you've done well, and let's look at what happened. Let's look at what the barriers, what else support that you may need. Maybe you didn't have the support that you necessarily needed, or maybe just you didn't want to do it. But this is not a tear down fest, and this is not a competition. Having an accountability partner and accountability group is not like necessarily competition. Like, yes, y'all could have goals and do some playful competitive games together, but it's not a sense of everybody's trying to be better than each other. It shouldn't be like that. I wouldn't recommend a group like that. If everybody's just always trying to be better than the other person, and don't want to see the other person win, that's not a great group. I'm truly so thankful for the business network that I'm in right now when it comes to my travel business, because we have a really great team and network where literally so many of us want to see other people win. It's like so many of us are seeing so much potential in the other people, and people are also, seeing the potential in us and wanting us to grow and do better. So that's the type of community that you want. You want the type of community that when you speak to these people, a person that you literally smile and you are encouraged, that you feel so uplifted, you feel energized when you leave their presence. When you leave their presence, you want to do better, you want to do more. You're excited to give updates. You're excited to do the work, and you don't feel that you're being constantly judged or criticized. Like I said, there needs to be some healthy assertiveness, some firmness, of course. And when we are knocked down, we need to be able to lift each other up, but also at the same time, we also need to be very honest as well. If we're seeing things being done that is harmful to that person, we need to be honest. We don't need to turn a blind eye. And that's what happens a lot of time in communities, like with family, with friendship, these so-called accountability groups. They see the person not doing so well, and they turn a blind eye. And they continue to let them just do what they do. And it's like, no, we have to do something about the situation. What do you need in the situation? How do you need to stay accountable in the situation? What are the barriers in the situation? I would encourage counseling. If you're not in counseling, get some counseling. Hold yourself accountable. Like I said, first and foremost, you need to be accountable to God. Get accountable with yourself. Get a good accountability partner. A good accountability community. You don't have to be a whole bunch of people. Just be a few people that you could check in with or whatever. But I'll leave you all with that. Those are the 3 goal killers. Talking too much about things that don't matter. Number 2, no preparation, no work, and no effort towards the goal. Number 3, lack of accountability. I'm done. I'm finished. Facebook, go ahead and share this. Go ahead and share this on your pages. Share this on your stories. If you know people that needs to hear this, they don't have face. Well, yeah, I don't know how this works. Sometimes you can see it when you don't have Facebook or not. I don't know, but share it in your DMs. Share it in your text messages. If you're listening and you have not yet followed my page, one of my goals this week with Facebook is getting to know 25 new followers. So if you look on my page and you see me, you look at my stuff, but for whatever reason you're not a follower, go ahead and click the follow button. Go ahead and follow me today. Go ahead and follow me today. YouTube family, if you have not already, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the like button. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. So I have a goal right now. I have 112 subscribers right now on YouTube. The goal at the end of December is to have 200 subscribers. So go ahead, subscribe. I could probably have more than that. But right now it's 200. Realistic and reasonable. Subscribe, YouTube family, and go ahead and share this in your text messages. For both Facebook and YouTube, your challenge is to go ahead and share this with 12 people. There's 12 people that needs to listen to this. So God bless you all. Happy July 1st, 2025. I speak blessings, prosperity, just with God's wisdom over you. And I just pray that we will all just get in alignment with the Lord when it comes to our goals this year. Let the Lord do a perfect work in you, and he will not fail you when you do your part. So I will talk to you all later, and be blessed. Bye.